Man, I still every time I play that opener, I fucking love that opener.
I'm just waiting until Carlos Kramer like wants a piece of whatever we're making for this show. Whenever we start making money, he's like, "Yo, my voice is on it. Voice is on it. I get some credit. Give me some money."
Yeah.
The
Well,
ring
and the thing
announcer.
is, well, when I made it, I think, like, I had to be very careful, I had to be very quick because of, like, copyright and all that kinda shit, so when I came up with the ideas of how to do it and whatnot, I it took me so I worked on it for about 2 weeks, and I came up with a couple different variants of how I was gonna do the opener, and I had some music, but it was all copyright and all that, so you know how YouTube likes to fuck you and likes
Yeah,
to
it's
get their
it's
piece of the pie.
it's not fun at all. I mean, Brave is signed to YouTube, so all their
Oh,
fights
shit.
show live and free on YouTube, worldwide. The hardest part is I can't walk out to any type of licensed music. I'm used to walking out to Kanye every single fight. That's just my thing. That's my niche. That's my
Yeah.
cliche of things. And I can't walk out to anything that's licensed. So any new song that comes out or Kanye or this or that, I can't walk out to it. I have to walk out to some type of unlicensed music that some random artist put out there for free.
So, like that, I find that really strange because you would think that as long as if you're a fighter, as long as you get like permission from the artist, whatever, ahead of time, like say, or if you've always used their music and you have a deal with them saying, "Hey, I want to walk out to that same song every fight. Are you cool with that from now on?" And they say, "Yeah, no problem." That's how it should be. And so they, so what kind of music do they just give you like like a something to like, did they give you a playlist to choose from,
I
or how does
mean,
it work?
there's websites that's just nothing but unlicensed music, that
Oh,
you can
okay.
pick
Yeah,
from, and it's all different genres. And I mean, the
yeah.
walkout song that I come out to is good, but it's only like a minute and a half. So once it's done, it
Oh,
just
shit.
repeats. And a walkout is typically
Oh, man.
4 to 6 minutes, so it's just over and over and over again. But the fact is, like for example, I have friends who are musicians or rappers or singers, whatever the case may be. And they're like, "Shorty, walk out to our songs," and I can get actual documented like permission. The problem is it has to go to Brave has to go to YouTube has to approve of it has to go back to that artist, and then it takes so long that by the time I get this all approved, my fight already passed maybe a month later. So it's just it's not even worth it. It's just like, oh man, I might as well walk out to whatever song they give me, or if not, worse is worse, put on some headphones and just kind of like fake it to make it.
You know what I find really interesting is when you have fighters, and I've seen fighters do it where so they have their opening music and then but they also are wearing their headphones on at the same time. I find that really funny that they get their walkout music and I feel like that's more for the show. And then whatever they're listening to in their head or whatever earbuds they got going on, must just keep them in the pocket and kind of keep them focused and whatnot. I find that really interesting because I would think that whatever your walkout song is the one that gets you pumped up or it gets you focused or whatever.
Everyone's very different. You can, for example, for me, it's on YouTube, so I can't walk out to Kanye West. But maybe, my next fight, I'm like, I want to walk out to Power by Kanye West, and I'm, jamming out to it because I don't need to hear anything else. Some people
Yeah.
really don't even like to hear the audience. They get nervous, or that amplifies them more, their nerves even more when they hear the audience like, yeah, so just like, I'm gonna kind of shut them out a little bit before I really
Yeah.
hear them inside the cage. Or maybe it's a nice little time of peace, or like you said, it's when the UFC did when they had their own headphones. Some of the fighters are sponsored by the UFC, so they just walked out with the headphones, and that was their way of showing off the sponsorship as well. So there's, I mean, and there's plenty more factors with that too.
In your opinion, what's the best walkout you've seen? And in any promotion, any fighter.
I mean, it was cool when Israel Adesanya did the whole dance thing, and
Yeah, that
did
was
the
pretty
whole
cool.
Naruto. I'm a big anime fan, given I've never really seen Naruto, so I can't really say much about it. But with him being able to do that, show off his personality, he's a person that builds off of positive. I believe that he builds off of positive reinforcement. Like me, where he just
Mhm.
wants to put on a show. He's an entertainer, so for him doing
Yeah.
that actually helps lead up to the fight. It's like, yeah, I'm full of energy. This is great. It's like a kid with ADHD. You gave him a little bit of sugar. He's like, compared to, oh, cool. It's the usual walkout every single time. It's the normal thing. My opponent just did the same thing, or I got to wait on him now because I'm the blue corner. I came out first. So everyone's a little different, but I think that one for me was probably the best. I mean, boxing back in the day when Prince Nassim Hamed would walk out, people were carrying him and he would do a flip inside the ring. Um, I think Showtime used to have the rappers, sing music when
Yeah.
Mayweather walked out, or so there's a lot of different ones, but I think in UFC or at least MMA alone, I think Israel Adesanya's been the best.
Yeah, and one that I'm thinking about, it's not my favorite, but one I remember, and it was just recent when, Mike Tyson came back, and, he came back, like, a couple years ago and did kinda that old man fight there. Now
Mhm,
I not so much the music, but just his walkout, it was so old school, the way he was all dressed, he had, like, with the hat or, like, I don't know, it was like a little toque. He had like it just the way he kind of came out like how he did in the 90s. I like that. It was just came back to his roots. I just like that. It was really cool. But I wouldn't say the best walkout per se, but with the music and who it is. But one that really gets me going is Alexander Volkanovsky. Every time he walks out, you just get that energy from the crowd and the way the music. He's just every time you hear that song, you know who it is,
mhm,
and
yeah,
it's so iconic. Um, but yeah, like that's one of the best. That's the one I like the most. But Israel Adesanya, I think he has the best walkout in terms of personality, the way he entertains the crowd because he doesn't do the same thing every time. Like if you look at guys like GSP, he's known for the run. He jogs over,
mhm,
or I know DC's done that as well. Or he usually like he'll get himself like he'll get his body all warmed up, like he'll smack his chest, his legs, everything. Like he gets himself riled up, and then he runs. I know that's a thing.
mhm,
Like I know a lot of fighters do certain movements the same way every time, whether that's for getting them their head in the game or it's just part of their fighter DNA, and that's how they like to what they're known for. But yeah, like I like it Israel Adesanya the way he does something different every time. Like the one time he did it with the ghost of it was like a video game. It's like the Japanese thing, but he had like the half mask on,
mhm,
and then he did the one where he was like geez, the Undertaker one. I think he did that, and then obviously the one he did when he was in New Zealand or Australia. He did that one, and then the one when he won back the belt from Para. I think that was the one where he had like the dog leash or something like
mhm.
that. Like that was awesome. Like he just does some different things every time. But I gotta ask you, what's your thoughts about them putting that fight together with Dracus Duplessis? I understand what timing and whatnot in the money fight, and I'm sure Dracus probably didn't say no. But in terms of what's right and what's wrong, I'm surprised because you look at someone like Sean Strickland, who was probably physically okay to take a fight. What's your thoughts about that?
Um, I mean, this was a fight that was inevitable. It was going to happen regardless.
Yeah, yeah,
We obviously thought it was going to be the other way around, where Israel Adesanya was still the champion and going to be defending it. But this is a fight that was expected. I The bad thing for at least that weight class is Israel Adesanya has so much power. He's extremely popular. He's a fun fight. Either he's losing by whatever decision, or getting knocked out by Vieira, or he's knocking someone out or dominating a fight. So he is a dominant champion, and I think this one builds a lot of hype. And then possibly
yeah,
having an inevitable rematch with Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's probably going to fight again the winner of either one, the Plessis or Strickland, or excuse me, or Israel Adesanya. So I mean, this is kind of like the top three. It's like, this is like your Pokemon choice or rock, paper, scissors, like which
yeah,
one is gonna win, and they're all gonna fight each other, and maybe one is a kryptonite to others, like again, rock, paper, scissors or whatever. So um I personally believe Israel Adesanya has learned from his mistakes. I think this is also
yeah.
a possible record for him, that he'll be the second person to win a belt three times. Um,
Mhm.
which I was actually thinking about that earlier. I don't like. Sure, yes, it is an accomplishment. That's I'm not at all putting that down. I mean, to be a world champion, once in the UFC is for sure an accomplishment, and nevertheless twice, because again, mishaps are going to happen, and mishaps will continue to happen. That's why he's lost it twice, and that's why he's fighting for it the third time. But doesn't it look better when you've been a champion once and multiple time defending? given again, this is no shade to Israel Adesanya, but I don't know if it's a record to boast about. Like, yeah, cool, you're still there, but this was over a matter of a few years. It wasn't like it's been 5, 6 years and he's coming back, or Dominic Cruz having 2 or 3 bad really knee injuries and coming back from surgery and having to come back to win the belt. This is like, oh man, he lost the fight. All right, cool, he's fighting for the belt again. So eh, it's not to me a fight that's it's not something I'm excited for. I mean, it's definitely a fight I want to watch, but when it comes to the accolades that come with it, I'm like, it is what it is. I'd rather just this be a regular fight and then see what happens after. But inevitably, whoever wins this is going to fight Sean Strickland next, and then we'll see if Alex comes back down to dominate again.
Yeah, and you know what? It is inevitable. Sean Strickland's gonna get the winner, and I'm glad that he is. I mean, whatever you think about his character or how the way he presents himself, the guy can fight. The guy is great, and he's got a weird style that just people can't figure it out. Like people can't seem to figure out what he's gonna do. Is he's got the Philly shell, and he's just gonna keep pressing you. So why? Every fighter keeps backing up. I don't understand. Like after seeing what he did to Izzy, you would think guys are like, okay, you got to stand there and you got to at least try to knock him out. And I was really surprised with Costa. I know Costa, I know he's really explosive, but he just looked like it. He just backed him up. And honestly, as much as I love to see Izzy win the belt back, and I'm an Izzy fan and whatnot, I love to see Drakus defend it because Drakus honestly put on the perfect fight for Sean Strickland. He put Sean Strickland on his ass for 3 rounds. I mean, not I wouldn't say he dominated, but he didn't let him back him up
Mhm.
after I think
He,
second
he, he
round.
wasn't he wasn't letting Sean Strickland bully him, and that's like you're saying.
Exactly.
Sean Strickland is a bully, and it's
Yeah.
again that's just his fighting style. He walks forward. The only problem
Absolutely.
is,
Yeah.
and the problem with Paulo Costa is he's a very explosive fighter. The only problem is the way he explodes is straight, and all of Sean Strickland's attacks, because he's so long and really good with the distance management, is he
Yeah.
jabs, and he had those little teeps that were literally like if he was dancing, just walking forward. He was a little marching soldier. So
Yeah.
it took away Paulo Costa's only real attack, or at least most explosive attacks. And then after that, yeah, he was able to land stuff here and there, maybe throw a spinning heel kick, stuff like that. But it took away his biggest strength. And after that, he had no confidence. Besides, yeah, he could take a shot, but he's also running into a bunch of teeps and a bunch of jabs. Yeah, it might not be super effective, but after you landed, 50 in 2, 3 rounds, it starts to add up a little bit. So that was the hard part about the Paulo Costa fight. Is Adesanya obviously is a more flashy fighter, and yeah, he can stand and bang. We saw with the Alex Piero fight, but Sean Strickland is a more dominant fighter on the inside. And Duplessis was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try to take you down. I'm going to make this more of a dirty fight and more of a grappling match. And he did the right thing. Um, I don't know how the fight's going to go with Israel Adesanya. I personally think Izzy's going to learn from his mistakes with Sean Strickland
Yeah.
and find a happy medium with both, because I mean, again, he was able to overcome Alex. He didn't overcome Sean Strickland yet, but the fact is, mentally, he's coming back from another tough loss where he's like, cool, I come back better the second time. And if you did beat
Yeah.
me the second time, I'm still going to come back the third and fourth time. But yeah, you were better than me that time. So he's still learning from his mistakes, and he showed that against the Alex Pereira fight. So I think Izzy is going to do very well in this fight, especially with the distance management. He doesn't get taken down that much, and he doesn't get held down that much. So, and because he's also super long and lanky, it throws people off. So we'll see how the plus is able to create some distance management with that.
Yeah, and this is also a great fight for both guys because I think Izzy's got a lot of fans, but he also has like the way he's kind of presented himself over time and things that have happened. I definitely do think that he's got some people in that back pocket where they don't like him, they don't like the way he presents himself. Um, and then you got Drakus Duplex, and again, so I think after everything that I think he had some DUI stuff going on, and I think there was personal stuff, and I know that wasn't Izzy that showed up against Sean Strickland. That wasn't the real Izzy that people see. I mean, two, he did probably learn from his mistake because he thought I'm going to counter strike with Strickland, and that's not going to work. Um, but I think too, you look at Drakus here. This is also a good opportunity for Drakus to show, okay, because I think he doesn't have that full fan support yet, especially when he fought Sean. He had that fan, he was a fan favorite. Like Sean Strickland had all those fans behind him because of the way his personality and the way he presents himself. Um, but I think this is a good opportunity for Drakus to be able to say, "Hey, I just beat Israel Adesanya, and I didn't just kind of squeak by." If he can beat him convincingly or knock him out or whatever, this is a good fight for Drakus because then Drakus can show and get that that support or that respect from the fans, and it blows my mind because Drake has done nothing but work his way up and beat everybody, and even then, like, yeah, the fight that he won the belt for was close, and you could kind of go either way. I still thought he possibly could have won. So, I think this is a great fight for both guys. And again, Sean Strickland's gonna get the winner. And when Sean's fighting, I think he's turned himself into a star. And yeah, it's a great fight for anybody. And I don't think the UFC really needs Conor anymore because you're seeing all these guys taking notes about what you need to do to sell fights and just be yourself and be a good fighter. And there's a lot of new emergence of these guys having good matchups. So yeah, I don't know, man. And that's another thing is Connor. I don't know if the man's gonna come back and fight anymore. That's a
Well, I
really
mean, what they're stating he has the injury. I mean, Connor, it's funny, Mike and I were actually talking about this. I think Connor's too prideful to back out. Like he
yeah,
wants to fight. He might not have the same hunger as he used to when he was, on government aid and food stamps and stuff like that. But
yeah,
he 100% is still a warrior. I don't believe that should be taken away from him. Yes, he has millions of dollars. He technically doesn't need to fight. This is just his pride, but also again, it's his pride that wants to fight. He says he's injured, then we got to believe him. Was he possibly taking steroids in between? Sure, I am not at all denying that because man, he came back real fast from that injury, and obviously got
yeah,
super huge, is doing all these crazy things, and Connor's living his best life. Cool, hey man, good for
yeah,
him. No one's dead. Whatever, man, you do you. I can't tell you how to spend
yeah,
your money and what to do. Party, go out, do your drugs, do whatever you got to do. But the
yeah,
fact is, he is a man of his word. As again, he was like the prophet when he first came in. He was calling all the calls and saying what he was going to do, and he did it all. So for him saying that, hey, I'm injured, but I will be back at the end of the year, I 100% believe it. It just sucks because there's so much other things shadowing his return that,
hmm,
yeah, he's definitely not the same. And then obviously after the Poirier fight and the injury, it's like, does he still really want to fight? Is it just hype for him? Is it just publicity? What he doesn't need that. So I think the Warrior's still in him and he wants to fight. It's just, again, and I've had my fair share of injuries where shit happens. And again, you're facing a guy like Michael Chandler where it is a rough and Mike is gonna make it a very dirty fight. So
yeah.
any type of injury where if it is that bad, yeah, he's not gonna take it. I mean, what was the one fight? Was it against Jose Aldo where he had an injury and he still fought him?
Yeah,
He
I don't know what he injured, but yeah, he still took
so
that fight and
there has to be something big enough. And again, Dana hasn't even put it out there. So it has to be something big enough to where he's like, you know what, man, I don't want anyone to know about this. I want to, make this as private as possible in my very, very public life and
yeah,
just go from there. And he says he'll be back at the end of the year. Then, people are getting their tickets, refunded and stuff like that. Then he's gonna come back. And I think I just hope for him and his own pride that he still gets all the hype that he deserves. Because again, he did as much as I'm not a Conor fan when it comes to the smack talking this and that. He helped change the sport of
yeah,
MMA with us making more money, us demanding pay per view buys, us
yeah,
just talking the talk. I mean, now you have Kobe because of him. You have Nate is talking
yeah.
a lot more because of him. All these different fighters are now, what, hey, I could use my mouth for this. This is great, So it's Connor's again, he's changed the sport. So I hope he gets to make a return. And if he loses, man, let's make it a final hurrah.
Yeah, and on that note, the narrative that kind of seems to be pushed out through fans through social media is, well, look at freaking Connor, like he's made Chandler wait for this long, and it's like I don't think that's the case. I think there's been a lot of stipulation. I think there's been a lot of factors that have kept Connor from out. Like one, he has to get back in the pool, and he knows, and I think the UFC know he was taking the steroids, and that's fine. He wasn't competing. He was letting his get recovered through that. And yes, he got big. That's fine. And he took the time. What he needed to do is get it out of his system so he can get back into the testing pool. Obviously, USADA's gone, but he still had to go through all that during that time. And then they did the Ultimate Fighter, and they were hoping that yes, they were going to get him through back sooner. It didn't happen, and that's fine. And I hate how the fans are all blaming, well, Connor made Chandler wait. I think this is all about his plan. And it's like, I don't think so. Like I said, And on top of that, if you want to blame anybody, Chandler's the one that's sitting there in his back pocket waiting for the fight. So he
Mhm.
could have said, you know what, this is not going to happen. What's going on with Conor? Hey, let me just take a fight and then we'll see what happens. So that's on him to wait. Like that's on
Yeah.
him to wait. And I don't blame him either because he knows that even if I lose, this could be a payday where I'm like, you know what, I've had enough of fighting. I don't want to do this shit no more. I just made like couple $1 million with the Conor fight. I'm done. And I think that's where Chandler could be sitting.
And 100%, it's the fact of if I wait, it might be really, really worth it. But if I
Yeah.
wait and it's not worth it, man, I'm already older in my career.
Yeah.
Now I got to fight whoever's next in line, and it's not as motivating to me as that Conor fight because I know I was fighting somebody who's already created this huge resume that would have changed my life. I would have fought somebody that would have made a huge payday, pay-per-view wise, and this and that. So it it does create a little bit of gamble, but Chandler's like, dude, don't feel sad for me. I think he made that post. He's like, don't feel sorry for me. Please, like, don't be an asshole. Don't feel sorry for me. I want you to be happy that I'm waiting and I'm making this decision to wait for him. Hey, he's got to do what he has to do. Then he'll come on
Yeah.
back because he also knows the fighter life. Given he might not be as popular or own as many businesses as Conor McGregor, but he understands that this is part of the sport. These things sadly happen. And hey, what's a few more months going to do to his life? I have enough money. I'll do what I need to do on the side with sponsors, this, that. I still have money on the side. I will wait for this big payday. And if it doesn't happen in November, okay, then I could, go out and fight whoever else.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, I think the fight's gonna happen. I think they're pushing towards September
Plus,
if I'm not
plus, I
mistaken.
mean, look at it. He also did the Ultimate Fighter show that
Yeah.
gained notoriety for Michael Chandler. They gained him
Yeah.
more. There you go. It gained him more
There you go.
publicity. It gave him so many. Let me see. I think there was something that like there's fireworks or what is this? This lasers? Oh, I
Yeah,
get
there oh no,
confetti.
you
There
got
you go.
confetti. You got the
I got
confetti.
confetti. There's some here too. Hold on. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
okay. So I learned them all. It's great. It's great. So, but with that being said, like he was on the Ultimate Fighter show. Like he has a lot of
Yeah.
notoriety. He's making money off of that. So even if this fight got postponed, he's
Yeah.
probably making minimum of six figures doing that show because it is 6 weeks or even longer, depending on the process of having to
Yep.
promote it, doing this interview stuff like that. So he's fine right now with money for the most part. I don't know how he lives his life. I don't know how he spends his money, but from what I know, he's a pretty to himself type of guy. So it's not like he's going crazy with it. This is a risk that I think is worth taking for him. Then after that, again, if it doesn't happen by the end of the year, cool. I still made money off of this. I still got publicity. It technically makes him look better because Conor didn't want to fight him for whatever case. He can spin it however he wants, and then he can just go from there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I just heard about this, but the Korean Zombie, I guess he's got his new promotion. It's a ZFN, I think it's what it's called. And Dan White just posted, obviously, because it's going to be with UFC Fight Pass. So congrats on him for that. I think that's
Hmm.
great. Um, it's great for him because he's retired. He's not going to be fighting anymore, but he still wants to be in that fight game, wants to be involved. And you're seeing a lot more fighters doing that, and I think it's great. I mean, you got Jorge Masvidal doing it. I think he's got his bare knuckle MMA, which is really cool. I actually really like that.
Hmm.
I think that's really cool. I think if it
Yeah.
starts to really take off, I would love to. I like watching it. A hometown boy there from London, Jesse Ronson, he fought in that, and I was like, that was right up his alley. He's the body snatcher is his nickname, and yeah, he. I thought it was really cool, and I like we had the bare knuckle boxing, which I also really enjoy watching. And I'm gonna ask you something about that. But I was like bare knuckle boxing, and then you got bare knuckle MMA. Which I mean, what's really more the difference between your bare knuckles and 6 ounce gloves? There might not be that much, other than you're in bare knuckles. So I mean, that's pretty
Ah.
sweet.
Ah.
Other
See.
than you can't, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can. You can't use Vaseline on your fists. So I mean, everything's catching. I believe. I
Yeah,
don't think they put anything on your hands. So everything's got to be catching.
so
You're gonna be eating
I
clean.
mean, regardless, if it's the whatever material on the glove or your skin from the knuckle, it's gonna catch.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's gonna catch.
Oh, it's still gonna
But the
catch.
fact
Yeah, it's gonna hurt.
the
Yeah.
fact is, have you ever just been like, has anyone ever just punched you, gave you a Charlie horse in the arm, like just
Oh
bare
yeah.
knuckle, dude? That
Oh
shit
yeah.
hurts. just imagine when it's on a bone and not just a muscle. Plus, with that
Oh
being
yeah.
said, for people who don't know bare knuckle of anything, bare knuckle MMA or bare knuckle boxing, is even if I block, you're getting hit by bone on your forearm, on your
Yeah.
hands, on your, whatever. And also, your forehead is like, I believe, the second strongest bone in the body. That's why we like to put our chin down and block with our forehead. Our forehead can take a lot of damage. That's supposed to protect us. And for people who have like gigantic foreheads, good for
Oh
you. But the fact is, if I punch you, and I've broken my hand before, if I punch you square in the forehead, I could break one of my knuckles very easily.
yeah.
But with also that being said, no matter how sharp your knuckles are, some people are sharper than mine. Some people are like Powerpuff Girls and have completely rounded hands. Like if you have sharp knuckles, you don't have to hit hard. It just has to land and you can cut somebody. And that's why bare knuckle boxing, you see so many different types of lacerations. And again, that's also why their rounds, I believe it's like 4 or 5 rounds for 2 minutes each. So
Yeah,
it's,
two and a
it's
half. Yeah, yeah.
so dude, there's a one. Obviously, it's only 2.5, just because they're in the circle. Like you're gonna fight. You have no choice but to fight. That's why they made it so small. It's like a tire fight, a phone booth fight. But then two,
Mm.
it's also to help save these fighters because, dude, they get. That's why you see some fighters literally getting dominated in like one punch. Yes, it can
Done.
happen in
Yeah.
MMA as well, but like the cuts, the lacerations, the bruising, bone to bone, your face blows up extremely fast. So with Masvidal doing the bare knuckle MMA, I think it's awesome. I think personally, to me, it could be more entertaining than bare knuckle boxing. And that's a pro and con, because bare knuckle boxing, that ring is small. Like you're gonna fight, so you're gonna see a fight. But the
Yeah.
problem with that is you're kind of also throwing away the technique of the sport. Like, dude, I can close my eyes and go and hit you and hit your hand and break your hand, and now you're like, oh, I don't want to fight. Bare knuckle MMA, dude, I don't want to get punched in the face. I'm gonna kick you, keep you at distance. Do what
Yeah.
was it Randy Costa did to Jason Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me piece you up from a distance, throw some head kicks, mix the takedowns, and then now my hands start to land. He was showing he's an MMA fighter, but also bare knuckle. And yeah, it might not be different when it comes to the defense, when it comes to at least how
Yeah.
much space you have to block. But it also hurts a lot more because, dude, I've taken punches in the gloves and I'm blocking because it's extra cushion. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm fine. Compared to you punch me in my hand, I'm like, motherfucker, like this, dude, it hurts.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's a huge thing. But when it comes to these fighters, Pettis, doing APFC, Masvidal doing Icon and the bare knuckle MMA, who else? Korean Zombie. You have all these fighters doing it, but and there's a huge, huge but. They had management teams that came up with them, and they have these people that they trust that are businessmen as well, that know how to run promotions or have been part of promotions, have been matchmakers
Oh,
before,
100%.
have been super supportive. That honestly, Masvidal, or excuse me, Masvidal, Pettis, and Korean Zombie, they're just the face of it. I'm not saying they don't do anything for that promotion, but they're just the face of it. And it extremely helps the promotion kind of, come on up a little bit faster, especially entering on UFC Fight Pass and different, networking opportunities for that.
Yeah.
But also getting investment deals. Look at Masvidal going to Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia invested in Icon, and now they're going to make a fuck ton of money to do all these things. And I talked to Masvidal about it. I was like, dude, I'm really happy for you. I talked to Pettis about it. I'm like, dude, I'm so happy that you're doing this because you're showing the fighters that we can do more than just fight. We could also be promoters. We could also be our own boss and give other fighters different opportunities. So it is a huge thing, and I honestly want to learn a lot about it because I'm really close to Lex McMahon, Titan FC, and dude, the stress that it puts on Lex to run an event, because given he does a lot of it himself, I would just be the face if we
This
did
is true.
anything together. It's
Yeah.
so much stress with fights backing out last minute, the medicals of the fighters, finding hotels that would sponsor the event so they can be
Yeah.
cheaper to house these fighters, how much these fighters want to get paid. If you want to bring a UFC veteran or a veteran in general, like whoever, let's say Anthony Pettis wants to make a return, and we're like, fuck it, let's put you on Titan. It's like, dude, you know how much money he probably will want? We can't pay him what he was getting in the UFC, but we also have to respect him. So
Yeah.
it becomes very, very difficult. Thank you. So it's just it's a process. So when it comes to being a promoter, we think it's easy, but dude, this game, especially if these guys are not just being the face, but they're also being part of the business and trying to do whatever they can in it, not just be the face, dude. It's fucking difficult. And like I wanted to do it, and I'm like, unless I have a team helping me, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And quickly, if we ever had Jamal Hill on here and he has his shirt off, he's got the thumbs up tattoo on it, and he has the iPhone or whatever, fuck, those things would be popping up like crazy. But yeah, no, like, yeah, it's yeah, I think you break up a lot of great points about that. And on top of that, I think I asked you this maybe once or twice off the record if you were gonna ever do the bare knuckle boxing, and um, would that ever interest you, like, in the later future, or
I mean, I know, the owners, I know a lot of the investors in the promotion. The crazy thing is I would love to do it because I'm a natural brawler. I love phone booth fights. Hell, in
yeah,
Fight Circus, I almost did a tire fight, but I had my last title fight coming up. So I was like, I don't want to possibly get injured and then I can't do this title fight. So me, when it comes to in quarters, like bare knuckles, perfect for me. Hell, I used to spar with my brother and my father bare knuckle all the time. And it's, dude, that fucking sucked because they were older. My brother's 8 years older, and obviously my dad was older. So I really got fucked up. But I was like, no one's gonna hit me as hard as my dad hit me. Thanks, Pa. So the fact is, I would love to do it, but I'd love to do it at the end of my career when I have a bigger name. So I know I'm gonna,
yeah,
entry pay. I'm gonna get paid more like Chad Mendez or
yeah,
whoever else, Paige Van Zandt and Mike Perry, stuff like that. But also where, you know what, man, if I get cut again, because I've already had my fair share of lacerations from fighting and all that stuff in MMA, I can just imagine all the shots I'm going to take in bare knuckle because I fucking barely move my head. So the fact is, I want to be able to make sure that I'm making a damn good paycheck. My popularity is that much up, and that it's a fun, safe, I guess, smart fight, should I say, for me. But that would
yeah.
be towards the end of my career, whenever my goals or my aspirations are completed, or they're just out of my reach for MMA at the time. Then it's like, all right, cool. I think it's time to move on to the next best thing, celebrity boxing, or again, bare knuckle. Which funny thing is, I went to a what event was it? It was a Misfits boxing event,
Yeah, the Misfits, yeah, and you said you almost got a
dude.
fight too.
Dude, I went to Misfits Boxing, and there was a guy named OJ that was gonna fight somebody named like USA Saiyan. Two influencers that have trained before, but so be it. And I
Yeah.
just went there to show my face, to talk to the promoter. I was like, hey man, if you can, I'd love to fight. I can put on a show. You have all the MMA fighters coming on in. Hell, use me as a body. I don't care. Like, dude, I'm gonna fight an influencer. I'm gonna fuck them up. Like, people underestimate my boxing. I am perfectly fine with it. And he's like, hey, cool, give me your information. We exchanged info. And then USA saying one of his medicals didn't get approved. And it was in Texas, we're in Houston, and one of his medicals didn't get approved. And me, I was like, dude, I'll fight 135 all the way up to 180. Like, I'm fighting influencer. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll call out anybody. It's like, let's go. And so,
Well, the thing is, you shot up to like 180 after your fight, correct?
no, I shot up to like 165. And
Okay, it
I,
was
I fight
165
135.
at that, but it was
No, I'm not the
165 at the time,
go fuck
right?
yourself. I'm not that heavy. But I just showed up to 180 in Saudi Arabia, but they had a buffet, and that was
Oh, okay,
20,
that's what it was.
2018. 2018. That was a
Right.
great time. That was like the best time of my life. I was eating so much. But go fuck yourself. So the fight was at 168. And I was like, dude, I'll fucking fight him. I'm already on weight. I fought literally 2 weeks ago. I had my medicals. Like, I'm still healthy. I'm perfectly fine from the fight. Let me in. Put me in, coach. I just want to bang, bro. And the promoter comes up to me and goes, dude, we honestly would love to fill you in with the card, but it's Texas. Texas is extremely strict. Even if you have all the medicals, which I did, it needs to be on Texas, like, your application forms, and it needs to be approved like 2 or 3 days before the event. So there's no last minute fights, which I think is a bunch of shit in Texas, which again, you guys have to change that rule. But I was ready. I was like, "Oh, come on, man! I just want to bang, bro." And I had other fighters that I knew really well on the card, so I was like, "Damn, this would have been a lot of fun." But it is what it is. It was a cool event. I hope to one day, do that, especially in between my MMA fights. Like, dude, fighting an influencer for almost the same amount of money I'm getting paid now. pfft, That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I'll let you hit me a couple times. I'll be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, well, maybe, we'll see down the road. We'll see what's happening. But other than that, man, we haven't really talked personal here. What's going on with your week, man? How you been? Regardless of
Well,
everything.
Everything's been good, man. I'm still waiting on my contract, which I'm always,
Yep.
me. Realistically, I do suffer from a lot of anxiety. And it was funny. I went to the dentist last week, and they recommended, just nice natural teeth cleaning. They're like, hey, we recommend a mouthpiece because it seems like you're chipping away at your teeth because you grind your teeth a lot. And I was like,
Yeah.
for when? They're like, oh, when you sleep. I was like, dude, I got anxiety. I grind my teeth all day. Like I'm just like that all day. Plus, I chew gum to help relieve the anxiety, stuff like that. And so they're like, "Yeah, just wear it all day." I was like, "Ah, fuck it, I'm good. I'm good." So for me, I've been good. I've just been waiting on my contract. Just trying to figure out little things, where I'm staying in Vegas, getting ready for the training camp leading up to it because I want to be able to stay a month in Las Vegas at Extreme Couture. Kind of getting my training partners ready as long as my opponent signs the contract and everything's set with Brave. Um, and just trying to get everything settled if wherever the location is, being able to get an Airbnb out there, hotel, whatever the case may be, get my family settled in, whatever, so there's a lot of things that I think about. Plus, I'm also trying to enjoy time here. Oh, dude, craziest fucking story. Okay,
Here it
I want
comes.
to. This is Mexico. Are you ready? Now, Mexico is known for the cartel, and
Obviously.
it.
If
And Mike's
anybody
like,
doesn't know about the cartel, you're living
dude,
under a fucking rock. Okay.
Mike is sitting on the couch, just kind of like, because,
Don't
dude.
say it, brother. Don't say it.
So so yeah, I'm gonna get hit on myself. So there's a bunch of people, a bunch of cities here that are notorious for more, cartel action than
Yeah.
anything. And then you have other cities that are like, they're here. But I went to Cuernavaca to visit my family or my mother's family, and I'm there, went to training, had a lot of fun. My fucking cousin tapped me out, and I had a lot of a good time there. And then we just went to a little taco restaurant, just sitting there. And I hate, because of my upbringing, again, my dad was a gang leader. I hate having my back to the public. I would love my back right now towards the wall where I can see everyone coming in. But my dumbass picked like the last chair, like the boss chair. So I'm like, okay, at the edge of the table, there's like 20 people in the family. And where I was like, oh, yeah, you want the salsa? Cool, I'm passing the salsa. And all you hear, literally like half a block away, like at least minimum 6 shots. And we're just like, everyone's freaking out. And I'm sitting there again because of my upbringing. I'm like, oh, somebody got shot. All right. And my uncle loves like weapons. Like, so he goes out there.
Yeah.
He's the guy that like, he's that curious neighbor that's always looking outside when he hears an argument or like sees cops out. Like he's the nosy
Yeah.
fuck. And he goes out. He's like, oh, dude, look at somebody got shot. And we're like, what the hell? And so we walk out, and there's this dude just laid on the floor, like, oh, somebody help me. Like, no one helped him. Dude, there was a hospital like 5 minutes away. Like, we could have ran to the hospital and back. Like, this dude is just laying there. And we're like, huh. Dude, my uncle went over there, grabbed the bullets, and he was like, dude, look at the bullets. They're good. And he's like, kept them and walked away. We're like, dude, that's evidence. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
What the
He's
fuck
just
are you
like,
doing? Yeah.
he's like, oh, dude, you find bullets all around Cuernavaca. I was like, what are you doing? And again, I don't know what happened to this guy, but I can tell you he was there even after we left. And that was like half an hour after being shot. No one came to help him. No cops, no ambulance, no anything. Dude,
So
so many people walked by. He was just laying in the middle of the street. Like cars went around him and just walked off. Now, it was 100% a hit. Like you had two like scooters. Again, we couldn't see anything. You just see two scooters. All you hear is and two scooters just drive away. And we're just like, oh, that was a hit job. Like he had to owe money or we're like, and they're all like, yeah, welcome to Cuernavaca. All right, well, you be safe. Let us know when you get back to the hotel. We're like, what the fuck? Like, dude, cartel stuff here is crazy. Like in Mexico, you don't just have police cars. You have like police pickup trucks where you have SWAT driving around in the back of the SWAT truck just with their assault rifles, just driving around like nothing
yeah.
happened. They're like, just making sure everything's okay. They just so happen not to be there in Cuernavaca. Like it's
So
fucking ridiculous.
okay, so you said that like nobody was helping the guy. Is it because they know like it's the cartel and they're like, okay, we can't get involved because we don't want to help the guy and then we look bad and then we don't want the cartel coming after us. Is that the attitude? Okay, you're just shrugging.
I
All right,
have
you
no
don't know.
clue, but
Okay,
you also don't. I mean, again, this is you can pick wherever you want to choose. You can go
right.
try to help the guy, but maybe again, maybe he's still alive and they want to finish his job. Now you're in shooting range and you might get shot, you
Yeah.
know? Or you can go help the guy, but then no one else is helping you. Like in certain places, and again, this is not just in Mexico, but in certain places, like this is just normal, you know? And
Yeah.
this wasn't like, dude, I'm from Chicago. Kids are with guns. You call a kid a bitch, they will pop out a gun and start shooting. The only problem is they're not aiming. And that's why a lot of kids or a lot of people in general get shot. Like Chicago is the leading, I believe it's the leading city in the country with the
Yeah.
most shootings. Not the most killings nor murders, the most shootings because we all fucking have bad aim. Like people just and they just start shooting and out of nowhere. It's a public thing. This
Yeah.
was, just a hit job. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna hit him. That's it. We're out of here. And it was just like, oh, I mean, at least no one else got shot? Question mark. So that's also the scary thing. Again, like you said, like maybe you should go help the guy. Are you affiliated with the man? Or the cops come and maybe they start questioning you. Maybe you get blamed. Or again, there's so many different
Well,
things that could happen that it's just like. And so, dude, this guy was just laying on the ground, still moving and stuff. So we don't know what happened to it, but it was just like,
Jesus.
then people were all freaking out. I'm like, Chicago. I don't know. This is kind of normal to me, but dude, it's bad. It was bad.
Anderson Silva voice is normal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like that
it's
one guy that's
normal.
like, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Yeah.
Well, man, I'll tell you something. So I don't know how quick and I don't know how accurate the story is, and from what I heard and what I can remember. But so one of my father's friends, he worked in a shop, and he was like basically he supervised this mechanic shop in Canada, and basically a lot of the parts they would get sometimes would come from Mexico. So he would, I know, I'm trying to say it right. So they had it in Mexico, and so they sometimes would have to drive to go get these certain parts, or they would have a guy that would supply them the parts, and he would drive over and get them for him. And so one of the guys working for him, they needed certain parts. They knew where they're going to the one, like whether it was Ford or wherever places in Mexico, and they were just saying, just letting you know, you don't fucking stop for anybody. You don't do anything.
Hmm.
The guy's like, well, but if someone pulls their guns on me, I don't give a shit. I'll give up whatever. I don't fucking give a shit. I will give you guys up. And they're like, well, yeah, be smart. Just don't stop for anybody. And so he got to this one checkpoint that he had to get to this one Ford plant to get the parts. And he was expecting, I'm gonna run into cartel. They're gonna give me a bunch of bullshit. No, sure enough, he ran into the police there, and they were trying to tell him, "Well, if you want to get through, you need to pay us." And he's like, "What the fuck are
Hmm.
you talking about? I ain't paying you shit. Like, what the fuck you guys?" They're like, "No, no, no. This is how it works. You want to get to point A to point B. You need to pay us." So he had to give him so much, or American dollars that he had, and sure enough, he paid them. Well, he got to the one checkpoint on his way back that he got stopped by the cartel in this one part that he didn't take the route that they told him to do because he didn't want to end up getting stopped by the cops. So they stop him. They ask what he had in the back of his truck, and he says, "I got car parts. I'm not gonna bullshit." And they're like, "No, thanks for telling us the truth. It's something that we want actually." He's like,
Hmm.
"But who did you get stopped by the police there?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, they fucking give me a hard time." He's like, where was that?" And he kind of and he's like, we're not gonna run your name. Let us know where it was. We'll fucking take care of him. He's like, what? What do you mean by take? He's like,
Hmm.
oh, don't worry. We'll take care of him for you. He's like, I was on that one road. I was on the one. He's like, no problem. And he's like looking at the like, does this fucking happen? You guys are just gonna and they let him go, and there was no problem. They just want to know what he had in the back of his truck, and I think they said he believes because he told them the truth, and he told them what they had, and they searched and he said what he said what he had, and they saw they saw that he told the truth. He just let them go. So it's crazy. Like it's a different world, man. Like over in
Dude, I
Canada, you
could,
got
I
people
can.
bitching about their neighbors fucking cranking up their music, but in other parts of the world, man, you bitch about something, someone's just gonna fucking shoot you about it and not lose an ounce of sleep over it.
Well, I can tell you just from the history of Chicago personally, and then some of the history from Mexico.
Yeah,
Chicago gangs were started mainly after Al Capone went to jail, and they're like, "Oh, we want power," but also the cops were kind of running reckless. They were doing whatever they wanted, and they needed people to protect the neighborhood. And so
yeah,
gangs or people groups literally, and there were teams. Like I remember, I think my dad's gang was a former baseball team or former basketball team at a church, and they slowly, came together as a family, and then were protecting the neighborhood, and then were protecting themselves against other, rival gangs. At the time they were
Yeah.
groups, but they were supposed to protect the community against the cops. Especially because Chicago was so segregated with blacks, Latinos, stuff like that, and especially in the '60s, like that still was, kind of being figured out here in the states. But in Mexico, that was the same thing. Like the police were just corrupt, and even in some places, the police are still corrupt. So the cartel was like, Mike, didn't you say like people love El Chapo or something like that? Like, yeah, like people loved some people, again, not everybody, but some people loved El Chapo because he was taking care of the people. Like a lot of the cartel, given every different facet, like they were there to protect communities, the neighborhoods, stuff like that, or even give small time people an opportunity to live a life. So
Yeah.
they're there to protect technically, and obviously they do their bad things or whatever the case may be. But yeah, even so today, it's to protect the community supposedly, and to fight against some of the cops, and it's literally a war in the streets with the cops, and not just police, but even sometimes the military and the cartel.
Yeah, it's crazy, and what I heard is now with, I think it was El Chapo or his son, now that they're gone, um, because of that, now you got the new cartels coming in, and they're with their own new rules where they're not so much taking care of their communities, they're, like, attacking tourists, they're attacking, like yeah, they're not they have no rule, like, there's no code, it's like they're going after and maybe it's just bullshit, maybe it's just people that don't live there, they just hear it's all hearsay, I don't know.
No, Mike, I can ask you from a Mexican right here.
Okay, here
The
we go.
new the new cartel that's coming in, are they, for example, like when El Chapo and his son were arrested, the new cartel coming in, are they kind of protecting the people, or are they kind of creating their own rules and taking advantage of stuff? Uh, mhm. Yeah, so he's saying, it's kind of like the example I gave about Al Capone. Al Capone was a very strong person, but also like he built my high school auditorium. Like he was trying to give back to different people in different communities. But once he was jailed, people were like, wait, there's no power. Oh, I could be king. Oh, I could be king. I could be boss. So people
Yeah,
are doing some crazy stuff to create havoc so they can be number one. So when it comes to the new, and this is Chicago too, because I still know a lot about, the gang life of stuff like that. Get part of it, but the fact is, a lot of the youngins, whether it's in Mexico or in Chicago with the gangs, they see what's on social media, and so they believe that's the way to go. If you
yeah,
ever listen to if you haven't, it's huge on TikTok right now of Gen Z kids like crying about it. Immortal Techniques Dancing with the Devil. It's just the story of this kid wanting to be like the next Scarface, and that's what he
yeah,
believes gangs are. Gangs weren't started at that. They were started to create a family. There's a lot of kids, like my father, for example, didn't have a father. My grandmother used to beat the fuck out of my dad and used to do the really, really reckless stuff that he's like, dude, I don't want to be here. Like, I want to get away. I want to feel like I belong in
and
gangs
that's
in
how the
that community.
gangs catch you, right? They catch people that don't have the family, they don't have the fathers, or they don't have the people that care, so they give them someone or a
Yeah.
place to belong, and that's how they scoop people in, is
Oh
they
yes.
draw
They
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 draw the
they give
people
them a
that don't
home.
have anything you give them a home, and they give them something that they don't have, or they don't have anything going for them, and they don't have the same opportunities as A, B, and C. So they're like, "Well, I got this, and this is where I feel part of, or I
Mhm.
feel like I have a opportunity here, even if it's illegal." Right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but it's also a way of life, for them, because
Yeah.
they have nothing. They're like, well, I might as well just do this as long as this guy. It's like honestly, it's like a dog. It's like, dude, as long as you're feeding me and housing me and cleaning me up, I'll attack anybody that comes in this house that you tell me to, because dude, you're my guy. Like you're giving me everything. So wagging his tail, like, yeah, you're my buddy, you're my pal. So the fact is, it is a crazy thing. So what happened in Cuernavaca was just like literally half a block away. Like the craziest thing is like we could have been shot by a stray bullet. Anything could have popped off.
Yeah.
Hell, my godson went to a party, years ago. And I don't know, I'm like, dude, what happened to your hand? He had a little cast on his hand. He goes, nothing. I was like, dude, what happened to your hand? Because he was slowly getting involved in gang life when he was a teenager. And he goes, I swear I did nothing wrong this time. I was like, I know you've been a good kid. You moved, all that stuff. Like, what happened? He got shot in the hand. He was at a random party. Some people were saying whatever, and they just started shooting at each other, and stray bullets went around,
Yeah.
and he went to run, and it was like, and got shot right through the hand. You know, and so just imagine it could have been at a more vital point. So
Yeah, shit.
it's a crazy thing what happens in life, man. That's
Yeah.
why I always say, like, enjoy today, enjoy the people, because you never know what can happen tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's crazy. Like even Canada, like I don't obviously I know in the states you kind of keep your own American news, but in Canada, man, so Trudeau like came up with this thing where he got a ban on like assault rifles and like he was trying to get rid of hunting rifles, and that was the last straw. Like people are like, no, you're not gonna fucking take away my hunting rifles. What's the matter with you? And they drew back pretty quickly on that, or you would have had a lot of angry protesters. But they banned assault rifles, they banned like handguns and pretty much anything that they can't deem to say, well, you're using it for hunting. And they banned all that stuff. They're like, well, we're trying to get big on crime. It's like, do you not like I get what they're trying to do, and it was almost like a pat on the back, but I'm thinking, do you guys not understand that criminals, you think they're just gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a gun legally at the store? No,
Hmm.
motherfucker, they're gonna go get it illegally, and that they're still gonna do it either
Yeah.
way. So it was just a way to say we're gonna take care of crime. And honestly, ironically, the crime actually isn't so much the gun. Well, there is gun violence. Don't get me wrong, and it's actually getting really bad, especially in my hometown. It's like especially with the drugs. It's really the drugs that are kind of causing all the bullshit. Um, but it's actually carjackings and especially in the GTA, like in Toronto area, it's carjackings. Like what's going on is they're getting a lot of these criminals. What they're doing is they're stealing people's vehicles, and then what they do is they take it and they ship it to like Europe, and they like strip everything. They rebrand or not rebrand, but they like put on new license plates or whatever. Then they send it to Europe and they resell it for X amount of money, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can find out where it is,
Hmm.
and the Canadian government's like, well, I mean, we can try to get back, but whatever. And it's like, well, then go fucking get the guy. Like, I mean, like go
Yeah.
after these people. And that's probably the biggest thing. I know you're talking about people getting shot in fucking Mexico, but like Canada, it's kind of creeping its way into Canada. And for the longest time, me growing up in Chatham, like it was yeah, relatively safe. You might have a murder per year, and now you're having like one per month, maybe one per week. And I know it's like you're like looking at it like fucking where's this guy living? But yeah, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy how everything's kind of driving into even Canada now. And Canada used to be deemed as this, oh no, there's none of that stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Everybody's sorry, everybody's saying excuse me, everybody's being polite. No, it's like, man, it's bad here too.
It's I remember one time I think I was 18. It was my last year in high school, 17, 18. And me and my friend decided to go to the Taste of Chicago, which is a huge, huge festival in Chicago. All these, vendors selling food, and it just gets super packed. Because it's just a gigantic event. And I remember walking to the fountain, and it's a big open area, and I'm walking with the fountain with a few of my friends, and we're walking, and all you hear is run, they're shooting, and then everyone like stares for a little bit, and all you hear is and so everyone turns around and runs the opposite way. Dude, people fell, they got trampled on, all that stuff.
Yeah,
And then
we
like
get it.
5 minutes later, you saw the cops like run in, and then 5 minutes later, we all, we're like, okay, well, it seems pretty calm now. Like, all right, let's walk back. And so we start walking back, and literally like 2 minutes after that, you just hear the same fucking person run! They're shooting again! And you just saw us all like turn around and more people got trampled. They're like, what the fuck? So it's a crazy thing to where that's also something at least really bad with Chicago is I took my girlfriend to go see the Bean in Chicago. And I was like, oh, let's go see, different places. And she's,
Yeah,
from Vegas. So like, let me take you around
for sure.
now just to get in certain places like to see the bean. These are open areas to go to the park to see the bean or the big opera center and all these different things. You have to go through a metal detector. You have to get your bag searched. Back in the day, no one cared. It's like no one was gonna randomly shoot people. But now, because all these kids have guns or knives or random little, like my brother's been stabbed 17 times For people who don't
Holy
know my
shit,
family, like
man.
it's really fucked up. So like people are carrying knives, people have guns, people, so we had to walk through a metal detector and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, this is Chicago now, so it is a crazy, crazy thing. So yeah, so like, hell, even random thing. I don't know if you saw my story earlier, but I have murals of me. And there's multiple murals of random people in Chicago, but I've been fortunate and lucky enough to have one of my murals painted on the north side of Chicago. Somebody
Oh,
egged
nice.
my mural. Somebody egged my mural this morning. I'm like, you
Oh, fucking
motherfuckers.
bastard.
I was like, I haven't even seen it yet, and it's just crazy because again, it's kids most of the time. It's teenagers that just don't give a fuck. It's not throwing shade at me. It's just, oh, hey, a mural. Let's make fun of it. Let's have some fun and do whatever. And people just don't respect. And again, teenagers most of the time that don't respect people's hard work and dedication. So when they're just walking around with guns or knives, they believe they have all this power. It's such a crazy thing, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man, and, yeah, there's just nothing good that comes out of it, and, but, yeah,
There's not there, when it comes to that, there's not much respect in the
no,
youngin game
no,
because they don't listen to the veterans of gangs or whatever cartel or whatever the case may be, whatever you want to talk
no,
about. But they think they know it all at a certain age, and given we were all kind of at that point, but these kids feel like they're extremely powerful because they have access to guns or knives or all these crazy weapons now, and then
yeah,
social media doesn't help that. Especially with possible music they listen to or whatever they do naturally, or even just in the neighborhoods that they grow up in, so they feel they have all this power, and it sucks because again, if you want to learn respect, watch a Bronx Tale, dude. Go watch
oh
a
my
Bronx
god,
Tale.
dude,
Fucking amazing movie.
it's
So
amazing movie,
like,
amazing.
just just watch that. And also it's funny because my girlfriend's black and she does the whole like reaches over to like open up the car door on the other side, and I'm like, yeah, she's a good one. I don't know if you remember that part because it's an
Yeah,
Italian dating a black girl. And at the time,
yeah,
just it was kind of a no-no. And he's like, if you like her, dude, you like her. I don't care. Just do the car test. Open the car door, let her in, and she reaches over to unlock your car door. She's a good one, and like she's a good person. And I'm just like, in that movie, I was like, oh, cool, that's awesome. But not many
yeah,
women have seen A Bronx Tale. And later on, like I'll let her in the car, whatever car I'm driving, and you just see the shadow of her like reaching over to like open up the door. I'm like, yeah,
you're
Bronx
like,
Tale, she's a good one.
yeah, she knows what's
She's a good
good,
girl.
yeah,
She's a good
yeah,
girl. So it's
yeah, man, like, that's a great freaking film, like, the one of my favorite scenes is when he's talking to his son when he's young, when he's a kid, and he's talking about how, like, "Oh, people love Sonny," and he's like, "No." He's like, "People don't love Sonny, they fear him," and they talk
mhm,
about how he's trying to put sense in his kid. And I mean, I like the relationship between Sonny and his son, but I do like that scene about how he talks. He's trying to talk sense to his son, saying, "No, like people don't love the guy. They fear him." And he's like, "But waking up every day, working hard, that's what makes a real man." Like you think he gets up and works hard? It doesn't take much to pull the trigger. And I love that. I just love that scene. And I will say right now, that scene goes on like the Facebook videos all the time. Like when you get those like video trending and whatnot, like you
mhm,
have that same scene that pops up, and I love it, man. And I think about it every day. And that's one thing I posted something maybe 2 weeks ago, and I don't post much on my own social because I'm busy doing like MMA Unhinged shit, and then I got our stuff. And but once in a while I throw something up on there. And one thing I say true is, and something I had to really learn, I was getting older, was nothing ever in life comes easy. You have to work hard at
mhm,
everything in life uh is hard. Like, of course, yes, there's certain instances in life where, yeah, you why would you work hard for certain things? Because depending on and I'm talking about just in general, like, there's an easy way of doing things, of course, but everything I've done in my life, I've never came easy. Like getting the job that I wanted, having the woman I want in my life, I
mhm,
I had to work for it, man. Like, it wasn't easy. I mean, I've been married for almost a year. It's not easy, man. Like, there's everything I do in my life, I work my ass off because I know that's how I was raised. You work hard, and you need whatever you put into your life is what you're gonna get out of it. Generally, like, yeah,
yep,
you do have misfortunes in life. Um, that are gonna happen. Like, if you, for example, I'm gonna put yourself in your shoes. Like, as a fighter, you can work your ass off in camp. You can do everything possible for your next upcoming fight, and you might come up on top, and you should, but it might not happen. But you do know, you definitely know if you put in 20% in your fight camp and you say, "Ah, fuck this guy that I'm gonna fight. Yeah, he's a dangerous guy, but I think I got him. Why would I work that hard? I'm not gonna work too hard because I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't want to work that hard. Ah, man, I gotta do another run tonight. Ah, why would I have to do that? I mean, this guy, I could probably get through him. Why do it? You know,
Mhm,
working hard because you know if you go in that cage and you be in your fight camp, you know you worked as hard as you could and you put 100% in. Why? And you still lose a fight, you can look back and say, you know what? Yeah, I lost and it sucks, but I know I put everything in it and I have no regrets. I have nothing. I have nothing to hang my head for. You know, and I mean, even like watching your last fight and the way you carried yourself after. I mean, you came in phenomenal shape. You put everything on the line. You did everything you could do, and you know you have nothing to hang your head about. And that's what I think about in life is as long as you do everything you can do possible in your and possible in life, you you can't look back and say, you know what, I should have or I could, and you will. And I think in life we all do. We still go back in life and think, well, there's something I could have done better. There's something, and you always will. But in my life, when I look at me doing things in life or there's something I need to get done, I look at it and say, why? And I can look back and say, you know what? I did everything I could, but it didn't go out the way I wanted to, but I can try harder next time. And so I hate the people I hate when people use excuses for, oh, well, I should get, like, you look at these kids, especially in colleges where I live. You see these kids where I deserve when I get out of college to get that $100,000 job. Well, fuck, you look at me, I don't have it. You look at these kids that deserve, I'm gonna get all weekends off or whatever they're doing, whether if in your stance fighting, yeah, man, I'm gonna train for 2 years. I'm gonna get in this big promotion. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to work your way up. You have to put the hard work in. Some people have natural talent that, sure, they don't have to work as hard as others
mhm.
and they might squeak by in a fight. That's fine. But most people have to work hard. And it doesn't look like people work hard, but they really do. And I wish that people would have more of that same mindset.
It's I mean, I definitely can tell you, I think about my last fight, I think about regrets of what I made in my life, I think about all the things, like we're, talking about. Again, I'm filled with anxiety multiple times throughout the day, so I always
Yeah.
over contemplate a lot of things, and
Yeah.
I think there was a quote, it's like, "Don't blame yourself for not having the knowledge that you have now." Because if you knew you could have done something more, you would have done it then. You gave
Yeah.
yourself the best choice, best chance to possibly succeed at whatever you're
Yeah.
trying to do. It just so happened that it worked in your favor. There's a lot of really, really dumb mistakes I've done, whether in a fight, in a relationship, in life, in school, whatever the case may be. And yeah, maybe there's some outside things that impacted it, but it still impacted me. It's how I reacted to things. So, for example, one thing that I can't really talk about is my last fight. I remember Dean Thomas told me because I was gonna fight Ali Balutinov, and I was so anxiety ridden. I felt so bad because I wasn't gonna make weight, and this is when I officially bumped up now to bantamweight. It was gonna be my last fight at flyweight for the flyweight tournament, and hey, look at cops. But they, maybe somebody else got shot. I don't know, but um, I was like, dude, I don't know if Ali's gonna take the fight because I'm like 4 pounds overweight, and this is for the flyweight tournament. Honestly, business wise, it doesn't make sense for him to take the fight. And so I'm,
Mhm.
fucking myself up more because I already know he's gonna say no, but I'm kind of keeping my hopes up. And he goes, Shorty, think about it this way. If you fight Ali and you lose, are you gonna fight again? I was like, yeah, dude. Like, I feel bad. I wanna get back in the winner circle. He goes, okay. If
Yeah.
you beat Ali, are you gonna fight again? I'm like, yeah, because now it's for the belt. It's for everything I've been working for. He goes, okay, cool. He goes, if Ali doesn't take the fight and they bring in another like last minute replacement to fight that same day, would you fight? I'm like, fuck yeah. I wanna like I feel bad that I missed weight. I gotta put on a show, especially for this whole training camp. I spent all this money. People put time into me. He goes,
Yeah.
okay. What if they don't get you a fight and you fight in the next event, maybe in a month, are you gonna fight? I'm like, dude, yeah. Like, why are you asking me this question? He goes, so no matter what, you're gonna fight again. So it's okay. Like this shit's gonna happen. You're gonna get because I ended up getting injured and I still try to make weight. And it probably was a good thing that I didn't fight because I was injured. But the fact is, injuries are gonna happen. Again, the whole Conor McGregor thing. That's why Chandler's like, fuck it. I might make a big payday. Me losing my last fight. worst comes to worst, I lost a title fight. Like, I'm still up there. It's not like I lost some random Joe Schmo and it was for nothing. I lost a title fight, dude. I'm still up in the ranks. I'm still gonna fight a very high level contender and still be up
Yeah.
there and possibly get another title fight right after that. You never know. You never know. So for me, no matter what, I don't even like fighting. I just really more do this for the accolades and the money now. So if
Hmm.
I live to fight another day, if I'm healthy, which this was the healthiest I was after a fight, there's no lacerations, all that stuff. I'm healthy training, expected hopefully to fight in August. It's like, dude, that's a that's a huge gain. Yeah, I didn't win double because I lost, but I have another chance to win double in August. Dude, I've had fights where I've been injured, MCL, and I couldn't fight for almost about a year. I had UFC calling me at the time where it's like, oh, this, that. Dude, 2 years later, I was in the UFC. So yeah, it
Yeah.
might not be the right time, but again, things happen for a reason, and hopefully you find out one day what those reasons were, and just be the gratitude, be grateful that you're still able to do what you want to do. And for me, even if I lost, I know I can still fight again. Even if I lose this next fight, which God forbid, I hope I don't, and I'm training my ass off, like you said, I deserve to win the world championship 20 billion times, but that's not how the world works. So I have to make it as fair as possible, and one of those ways to do it is I have to fight back. And that could also be with my emotions as well. So I have to keep myself um, as calm as possible and see what happens next. But live and learn from mistakes, and hopefully you remember that pain to make you that much stronger.
100%, 100%. And yeah, and then that's just it. And I feel too, as any athlete or anybody, at the end of the day, you're fighting against yourself. You do have an opponent in front of you, but I do feel like anything that you do in life that you're competing, whether you're doing fighting or myself, I did bodybuilding, or you're doing, you're just competing against someone in a job, or you're competing for something,
Hmm.
whether it's just something fun. Always gonna be competing against yourself at the end of the day. You're gonna, as much as, yeah, like I said, you have someone in front of you, or you have someone that you're competing against. At the end of the day, you have, and it kind of goes back to what we said. You have to put that work in, and because nothing comes to you easy.
Hmm.
And as you, yeah, even if you think you do deserve to win that title 1,000 times, it just, again, it doesn't work that way, and you have to be able to face the man in the mirror, and be able to, you're competing against yourself at the end of the day. So the only control
Hmm.
you have control the only thing you have control is what you can do, and the rest is what's gonna happen. And if you win, you win. If you lose, you're gonna lose. And the more people understand that, the easier it gets for them sometimes, or it doesn't.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing or add one thing to it. I'm not gonna at all put down to say it's easy to get this, easy to get that, or the things that you want, like a world title, a girlfriend, a degree, or whatever the case may
Yeah,
be. The degree's a little different, but especially here in the States. But the fact is, I think it's harder to keep all those things because
it
if you're
can be.
really that
Yeah,
good, a champion would last forever. Again, we talked
yeah,
about Israel Adesanya being a three-time world champ. That means he's lost twice to have to fight for it a third time. You look at
yeah,
even just relationships. Yeah, yeah, dude, you got the girl, but you also got to keep her. You got to keep her entertained. You got to do what you got to do to originally,
yeah.
I wouldn't say stay the same, but keep her happy and love and all that stuff. Because obviously people change and things change. So if you're not the same, just like again when you're a champion, hey, somebody might swoop her away. Oh no, So the fact is, there. It's I'm not gonna at all say it's easy to get things, but when you have it, do not be content. And that was my thing
Mhm.
entering the UFC, and that's what a lot of people's things is when they achieve their goals. It's like cool. I did it when I made it to state, when I made it to nationals for wrestling, and when I made it into the UFC. I was like, hey, I'm finally here. Oh fuck, I gotta fight. I forgot about that part. It's like you got
Yeah.
to create more goals, and there always has to be goals, again, whether in relationship, your fighting life, whatever sport you do, your life in general. You have to have some type of purpose and some type of drive to get you up every single day and motivate you.
100%. And I know we're running out of time there, short daddy. um, but
Thank you,
I
thank
know,
you.
yeah. But yeah, we are running out of time. But I love having these talks,
I'm
even
just
when
glad.
we're
I'm just glad that when you said it, you just started blushing. So it means I'm doing something right.
George Daddy, come on. No, but I really do enjoy having these talks. Sometimes even if it's more serious and it's good to have someone to have that like-minded and to be able to understand that. And man, it's always fun doing these things. And I know it's getting late for you, it's getting late for me, and we're running out of time here. So this is episode 5 now. Fuck. Is it episode 5? Because
Yeah,
last week was the Shorty show, so yeah, no,
yeah. It
this
was
is
me, you twice, Mike, Augie, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
yeah, we got
yeah,
five. That's it.
episode 5. Yeah. So, oh, look at that, fucking celebrating at the
Yeah,
end. Look at you
yeah.
go. I love it. I
I
love
just
it.
want to say
Um,
because you called me short daddy. Come on, let's see if this works. Let's see.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
you got the
There
hearts
you go.
going.
Oh,
I love it. I love it.
I had everything.
But anyway, man, I appreciate it, man, and we're gonna keep rolling this out, and yeah, hopefully we'll I don't know, we're gonna see if we're gonna get somebody on for next week or this week or whatever, and we'll see what happens, man. And it's always a pleasure, like I said, it's always a pleasure having you on, man, and I know we're doing this thing together, but I do appreciate you taking the time doing this late at night. And I mean, it was the only time I was available, so for today. So yeah, man, I do appreciate it. And we're gonna chat again soon, man.
Well, I can't wait, man. And again, I appreciate you as well. You know, it takes two to tango. So I appreciate you and everything you do. And we'll see who's on next week, or whatever time we do this again with us. And if not, it's always fun just talking to you and having a good time. So, man, I appreciate you, everyone watching. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna go have some tacos because it's Mexico.
I guess I'm gonna have to have myself some meatballs. So well, I
Canada.
know. Or some beaver tails. I don't know, man. Anyway, man, we'll talk again soon, all right?